Hello again, I'm back with a new book. Because I had a few partially made, I'm back with another one a lot faster than I normally am. I'm such a slow crafter, but because this one was partially made when I did my last video, then and I've had all week to actually work on it, so it's finished. It is a very chunky little book, and I got a wee bit carried away, so it actually comes with some little bundles because I made all these bits and pieces that are not going to fit in the book, and some of the stuff in the book could come out to make it less chunky as well, because yes, it's very full. So what I've done with this one is it's just a hard cardboard cover that I've covered with this fabric I've got. Years ago at a car boot sale, I found this, somebody had made it into a big throw, and it was obviously a very old fabric book, sort of sample book that they'd made into a throw, and it has really lovely fabric, and I've been slowly working my way through it. So this is one of the pink ones, and it's got this lovely gold through it as well, so I've used gold throughout the book as well. And then I just basically tried to make the square of the fabric fit the size I wanted, so there's lots of pleats in it which I've just hand stitched down. So there's lots of sort of wee pleats and bits because I wanted this bit of fabric to fit, so I quite like the way that works out. And then I stitched on these pieces of lace on top, and I've stitched all the way through the spine, and then put some, these are shell buttons that I've put on the binding as well. So I will take the tie off and you can see how it pops up. Oh, I've lost a paper clip. Paper clip is always a word I completely forget when I do these videos. But I've tied this part of a necklace on as well. It's just on with bulldog clips, so it does come off, but I thought having the dangle at the front and then tied to a wee dangle at the back looked really nice, but it does come off. But I thought it just added to the front, because I didn't want to sort of make a centerpiece of this, because I think the fabric was enough for this cover. So I have put some beads into sort of flower shapes of the lace, but I think that works quite nicely. And then I've just put some gold buttons on the end of the closure. So hopefully I'm in frame. I'll apologise now about the lighting. I'm going to have to excuse me, I'm going to have to work out my lighting better. The room I use for my craft room, it's either really dull or it's too bright, and even when it's bright it doesn't seem to come into the room. But I will be moving my craft room soon to a different room in the house, and it's got a much bigger window, so I'm hoping that's going to fix my lighting problem. But there we go. So what I did with this one for the inside, again, I had this really nice, what do you call them, tea tray doilies, with embroidery in it, with the pink. And again, I didn't, because the pattern went all around the edge, I didn't want to cut it smaller. So what I did is I just basically shooshed it together and stitched it. And so you still see the embroidery where it should be. And I've done that from front and back. And then what I did is I put the tulle over the top and just used the little French knot to stitch the tulle down in various little bits. So the tulle's quite loose and fluffy. I just thought it gave a really pretty inner part of the book. And yeah, I quite like the way it turned out. So it's got this nice edge coming round, because I tore the fabric. I like the edge coming round so it's very slightly bigger than the cover. And yeah, so you see the embroidery through the tulle, but it just added that sort of delicate, fluffy look. So we'll go through the pages. So I've used a combination of I think it's Ruby and Pearl, there's some Tracy Fox, Tim Holtz. I think that's all. Oh, there's a few bits and pieces from the Graphics Fairy as well. throughout. I think that's all I've used. And I've been trying to use more and more of the book pages. I've collected these lovely old books and I keep forgetting to use the pages. So I've put a few vintage papers through here as well. So we've got a wee pocket here with the tag. And I did some machine stitching, which I think looks really nice, but I don't like the back on the paper. So everywhere that I've done some machine stitching, I've covered the back with some of this vintage ledger paper, and because it's got this lovely pinky red lines, it works really well with the colours of the journal, and it covers up the stitching that I don't like the look of. So all these little squares of vintage paper you see are to cover stitching. Again, I've used a napkin throughout the whole book, in the same napkin throughout the whole book to bring it all together, and it's this lovely peacock napkin that I have. So we've got a wee tuck there, and this is some vintage bank ledger. It's like little bank books. So this is from 1905, but this is genuine. And again, the colours just fitted nice, and the size fitted perfectly as well. So these, again, I've used various little decorations too. So on this side we have a little tuck pocket. This is some vintage ledger that I've just folded up to make a wee tuck pocket, which again I used the sewing machine to stitch shut. So I've covered the stitching of the sewing machine. So some are pockets and some are just a wee bit of decoration. These little bits are lovely little illustrations from the top of chapters out of an old book. So some of them are just, they're so cute. There's flowery ones, and then there's these ones with little faces. So they're very nice. I've also made a couple of fabric tags, which I've just backed on some marble effect paper in here as well. And then this is just a little envelope that I've left open. I just really liked the wee decoration there. And then a wee journaling card tuck here as well. And I've used the same beads that I've used on the front cover throughout as well. And then we've just got another wee fabric tuck here. Another little tag I made. And then this is a piece out of an Edith Holden book I've got, which is actually a miniature Edith Holden book. So it's the full size, it's the full picture page, but it's a wee miniature version. And then a wee glassine bag here, which I've used, it's a big one that I've used as little pages, and a wee journaling card in there, which I think is backed onto watercolour paper. This is, again, these are vintage cards I got on eBay a while ago, and they've got these lovely silhouettes on them, so I've used them as a page. And this is the other side of this wee bag with just a little piece of that vintage ledger as somewhere to journal. And a nice layered decoration here with sari and vintage bits and pieces. And I've got a wee clip here holding this big fabric tag. Again, it's backed onto the same marble paper. And this is another wee tag, again with the wee beads on it, in this wee tuck. And then it's just a little digital on some tracing paper. And again, this is where I've covered some stitching. But I like the fact, because this ledger says journal, I've tried to put the journal side of it in a few times. And then this one pulls out there. And all the beads throughout this match as well. I don't know where this one's falling off from, but this has got the pink on it as well. And then we've got a wee tuck here. And this is a lovely old check that's been printed on. It's a pink check that I've printed onto tracing paper. So I don't know if you'll see, but it does have a really nice pink colour to it. And I've gone round, I've used my gold gilding wax a lot in here to tie the gold of the cover into this as well. So this is just some wee bits. And another wee tag here. Oh, there, that's where that one's come off of. So I've this is a vintage postcard I have that I've just made a copy of. I just thought she was really cute. And that sits there to hold her in. Now this is in between the two signatures I had quite a big gap when I sewed them in, so I just found these little, I've got another one further on, these little doilies that I've just sewn in for decoration just to make that gap less obvious, and I thought it was just a really pretty addition. And then in this pocket I've got a clothing tag that I've just popped some decoration on. And just a wee bit journaling space here, and a wee tuck there. And another wee tuck there. This is printed on tracing paper as well. Can't believe it is so sunny outside, but it's so dull in here. This is again another vintage ledger that I have. And then another wee pocket here with just a wee tag. Again, another little mishmash of laces. I've got gesso on my hands. And this is just on here. Yeah, because of the stitching of this pocket, I've covered the stitching again there. And there's no pocket there. This is a French grammar book that I've used here, and you can actually see where somebody has written their own notes in the margins, which I thought was really cute. And then on this side, I've just got a journaling card in there. And then in the centre of the signature is just a wee bag. This is another clothing tag. I like the fact that this is actually the original part of the clothing tag, but it's got a wee gold bit on it, so I just left it. And then in this side, I've used, I think these are Sam Poole that does these little vintage lace bits. So I've just put some vintage lace on them and popped them in that pocket. And then we've got another wee pocket in here. And then I've used one of these Tim Holtz slot dies and just put some various bits and pieces in. Another ruffle here. And then we've got a double pocket here. These are, I think these are the Graphics Fairy, these little postcards. I was just looking for stuff with pink flair. I don't have a lot of pink ephemera, so I just went looking on their site for pink flowers and found this these postcards, so they were perfect. Again, this is that same napkin, and then we've got a wee pocket. This is a glassine bag that I've just folded up at the bottom. A wee pocket there and a wee pocket there, and then this opens, and this is vintage diary from 1930. I just popped that there. I've stitched it in with just some embroidery thread there. And another wee tuck here, and this is just a little digital receipt. And then this is the middle of the next signature where I've put another wee doily just to add in some pretty, because I've had these gaps here. Because I was trying to not overstuff this book, so I left more space between the signatures for it to grow, but I still managed to stuff it full. I always do. And then we've got a wee tuck here. I'm loving, there's a few people doing this using the packing paper. More and more I'm seeing in journals. I saw Ruby and Pearl do it first. I'm sure other people have done it, but that's where I got the idea. And it really makes your image pop, and it's a great way of using it. I've collected package paper from Parcels for so long because I try and use a lot of my stuff I used to send my journals out is all as recycled as I can use. So I keep all the perfect size boxes of things I get delivered to me. So I've got quite a lot of packing paper, so it's a great way of using it. And another wee card here, and this is another clothing tag that I've just covered up, and another little layers of tulle. There's sari, and then there's the little crochet bits. And then this opens here as well. Again, I put some, because this was quite blank, I put more of this digital paper here. Not digital paper, ledger paper. So this is like almost like a floating pocket I've put here in that, oh, a bit stuck. I just glued that, on this morning. So it's this, it's quite a thick tulle, so I made it into a wee floating pocket, and it was quite plain, so I added this little cluster this morning because I thought it needed something. I find when I finish a book, what I do is I go through it a few times and find little things I need to add. So I'll keep going through a book, even though in my head I've sort of finished it, but I keep going through and I'll think, oh, that needs something there. And this morning it was that bit. And I added another bit this morning. That bit was added this morning as well. Just felt it needed something. And then the centre of the signature is the napkin. And in here, I just used that silhouette paper again and put a wee bit of tracing paper over it. And there's a wee tuck here. And then another one there. Oh no, I popped that in. That's not exactly where it was going to live. I just popped it in here, but I made another big tag. And here I've got another little pocket under there with that over the top. And then another wee flip there. I had some more of the chain that I used on the front, and I didn't really want to chop it up. So I just put it on a few different paper clips at the end there. Just thought that looked kind of cute. And then there's the bag. So yeah, a very chunky little book, and I had fun making this one because it's just so pretty. And like I say, when you take out all of the ephemera and stuff and the tags, it does close a lot better than it looks there. But it is chunky because of all of the stuff I've added to it. But I'll go through the little packages I've got left, because these were all bits and pieces I was going to add. And because I'd taken them all out to go in this book, I thought I would just put them as little parcels to go along with it. So I've got a vintage bus ticket. And then I make all these little envelopes out of fabric, and I tried to make like the proper envelope shape, and it was too tricky trying to get it sort of square. I managed on a very small piece, but I don't think I would bother trying to do it on a bigger piece of fabric because it was quite tricky, and to keep its shape I had to put the paper cover on it. So it's very cute and dinky, but I don't think I would stick with using the squared off one. And then I've got, this is a vintage, I think it's a tea card. No, it's a tobacco card, but the flowers are just perfect. And then we've got this little card, and then this little envelope, which I haven't put anything in, but I will. Another one of these. This was from, again, the Graphics Fairy page of cards. Did I put anything? No, I haven't put anything in that one either, but I will. So yeah, they all went with the theme of the book, so I thought it was a shame to split them up. So they will go away with this book. I'll tie that up after. And then the bigger bundle, this is part of the same necklace that I've used. This was the dangly bit of the necklace that I've just popped on this bit of sari. And so this is just a copy of a vintage postcard. Is this a copy or is this the original? No, this is a copy. I did make a copy of it. And then just got a plain envelope, which is tea-dyed, stamped, and then some of the texture paste on it. And then here is just a couple of digital letters, which I've put on newsprint, which makes them feel nice and old. And then in this one, what did I put in this one? Again, that's, I can't remember what paper I used for this one. I think it was a kid's tracing paper book, but it wasn't really tracing paper. It was just this really, it's got like a smooth side and it's quite rough on this side, but it makes it feel very vintage. It's very nice. And then there's a wee card. Another piece of this vintage ledger. Another wee journaling card. And they all fit in there. And then in this one, I made this little booklet. I was going to pop this in the back of the journal, but the journal got, oh, I need to change them. I'm going to do that right now while I remember. It was supposed to be a gold paper clip, and I just made a little journal, which I haven't gone through and stamped yet, but I will. And it's just some extra journaling space. And it's a lovely digital from Ruby and Pearl, and again I backed it on the packing paper. It just went really nice seeing it all the way around the edge. So that goes in this envelope, fitted this envelope perfectly. That wasn't that was just a happy accident. And then in this one, again, I made another little book that was just going to slot in there. But again, I've made it just into a little journaling book that goes along with it in the envelope. And this is some vintage butterfly book page. So these printables come like this. There's a bit missing in this one, and I just thought it works really well as a wee flat book because it holds it really nice together because of the extra little bits you can fold in. And that one goes in there. So there we go. So yeah, again, because I made all these things for this journal, I didn't, I'll tie that all together later. I didn't want to split it all up. And so this will all come with the journal, which I think has a home. If anything changes, then it will just end up in my shop. But yeah, there we go, my latest journal. And if anyone's got any questions about anything I've used, ask me below and I'll try and answer if I know. And thank you very much for watching. Thanks.